Facebook.
Facebook, Tim Brown and Tracy Kelly. We're talking about calm versus agitated clients, customers, and why it matters on Monday morning marketing and coffee. And we're about to have our quarterly meeting. And to me, working with calm versus agitated clients is a really important topic that I think is good to kind of kick off the quarter with.
Absolutely.
And I don't know about you guys, but I think we've all dealt with agitated people and agitated situations at work. And it is a giant bonus when you can kind of qualify and make sure that you're working with your favorite type of customers or clients. And it's a giant benefit to running your own business and being part of a business that lets you kind of define where you go. So just want to talk about that a little bit. So the first thing, why should you be identifying your ideal customers? I think that there's an opportunity for a lot of companies to spend a little bit of time on who do we love serving? Who are we really valuable when we serve? And figuring out who those people are will help you a lot. And I think, honestly, to me, I've said this before, but writing down a description of your absolute ideal customer. And one of those things for us is that calm thing. But Tracy, what's an example of a time where you've seen a agitated client, or I should say, and decided maybe it wasn't a good fit?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think what really is the catalyst for this episode, right, is we had a situation this week. It was just, I guess last week, right? We're on Monday now, but last week we had kind of like the perfect scenario come up. Got a phone call. I'm a sales guy, right? So I get a phone call, don't recognize the number, pick up the call, and it's a woman who's got 3 businesses, and she wants to talk to us. And 2 of them are absolutely in our strike zone. The third one is pretty darn close, worth talking to. And she was really excited, wanted to come in and meet with us. And so she came in. I didn't think much. I just said, you want to come in? You got businesses that we want to work with? Come on in. Let's go. And she came in, and it was her, basically the investor in their business and then a manager of one of their businesses. And what happened is the meeting was very awkward, very controlled from their perspective. And ultimately, what happened is they started pinging us, asking all these questions, didn't allow us to ask, follow-up questions like, where'd you go to school? How long have you been doing this? How long have you been in this business? And, we started asking some of the same questions. They'd be like, don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. We're the ones that are running this meeting. It's like, no, I don't know.
You could tell that whatever situation they had before, I think they had an internal person, but they're very dissatisfied.
Yes.
And, ideally when you're working with somebody that, there's a reason that they're changing, but if they're saying, for instance, if you're a service provider, you're providing a service and they just are complaining the whole time about their previous service provider, it's not always, but it can be a red flag. Mm-hmm. Because especially the last 2, or for instance, for us, agency, our last 2 agencies were completely, horrible or whatever. That's a bad sign, because ultimately there's a pattern emerging and they're the common denominator. And
it's like, not to interrupt, but it's like, say you go out on a date with a girl. I know you're married, I'm married, but this is hypothetical.
Yeah.
And
is that okay?
Bia's in the room, Tim's wife. But it's like if you go out with somebody or you meet somebody and all they do is complain about every single person they've ever dated. Yeah. And like Tim said, you start noticing the pattern, and the one common denominator is you. you know?
And ultimately in that case, you ask the right questions. Yeah. You say, how do you guys communicate? What is your preferred, you start asking questions around communication. You start asking questions around how they prefer to be communicated with. And once you get some of that information, then you can make a decision. And usually, it's not going to be the first time you meet somebody that you say something like that. You're not the best fit. Although ideally, you qualify early. It's just you have to ask the right questions to get that information and make a solid decision. Maybe you make that through a phone call or an email or Just setting them up, like giving them options for their next step that's not you. At this point, that they're not a great fit.
Yeah, so in this case, again, on paper, everything looked great, right in our strike zone, pricing was in alignment, et cetera, but ultimately, the message that I sent to them when it was all said and done was, first and foremost, I appreciate your time. I wish you guys a ton of success, but you're putting us in a situation where it's a relationship that is a vendor/buyer position. In our business, our ideal customers, our ideal clients, we put ourselves in a partnership role. And I just said I was not comfortable putting our team in a situation where, we've got and I didn't put it this way, but an agitated client, right? I mean,
and ultimately, if you trading relationship for you as a service provider anyways, let's just go straight Machiavellian with this, practical. Ideally, when you're having these conversations with the prospect, you're the one framing it up, right? If you're in a sales situation, it's ideal when you are the one framing it. And the way it's framed is going to be persuasive or not persuasive, right? So if you're a little bit in control, I'm not trying to be a control freak here, but if you have a little bit of control over the thing, you can give a description of your services in a clear and succinct way that's emotionally persuasive. That's going to be a more likely to close deal. And I'll be honest, this deal, just because of the way it was framed, we had a lower likelihood of closing it anyways, just because of they were controlling everything, and ultimately we were put in a beta position, so to speak. And ultimately, you want to essentially not be in that position. So it's also about the likelihood to close as well. So it's not just about that long-term relationship. It's also ideally you're in a position where you're framing everything, right? Because the framing matters a lot.
Absolutely.
And if you're put in this, we talked about partnership. That's the frame that we'd like to see as we talk to prospects. And I think that for a lot of service providers, that's also the way to think about it. You want them to think of it as a partnership. But are there other ways of framing? It's like we could just talk straight up sales techniques here. Yeah. So what other kind of ways do you like to frame these kind of conversations?
Yeah. Well, again, I think, at the beginning, like you said, it's setting expectations. In our business, it's a long-term process. It's a long-term engagement. And there's multiple people. It's different than saying like purchasing a house, right? There's a lot of activity. The house is purchased and then boom, see you later, never see you again. But in our business where we've got recurring revenue coming in, recurring services, working with you each and every month, we need to we need to frame this as it's a partnership. And when you have somebody that is calm, they're going to be with you through the ups and the downs, because inevitably any marketing that you do, there's going to be ups and downs. And when you have somebody that's agitated, they're going to have a short fuse when, maybe something doesn't happen exactly as planned. And then it's going to, you got to pull them up with you. So I think, like you said, talking about framing, it's all about what does your business do? What does an ideal customer look like to you? And what is that ideal partnership? Even if it is a transaction, say you work at a fast food, maybe you run a restaurant, get them in, get them fed, and hopefully they come back. But if they don't, the idea is get so many people in. So,
but ultimately, like for a lot of service providers, it's a little bit about that. It's about if you feel you can get them the right result that they would like, then ideally they trust the expert. So there's a little bit of that trust and that expertise, that understanding of your expertise. And if they don't understand that, they're more likely to be agitated, and ultimately it's the wrong frame. So I think that making sure that you get clients that trust your expertise.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? No matter what.
Not only will they trust you, but they'll see value in it, and they'll continue to work with you.
And ultimately that expertise as a service provider is the difference between being a commodity and being a premium thing, right? So a commodity meaning there's tons of it, there's many different options, and they're all kind of the same, versus the premium thing is we have expertise, and it's the same with products too. You want to be that premium product. You want to have some differentiating features that competitors don't have, so that you can charge twice what the other guys are charging, because ultimately there's a significant difference, right? There's a significant difference. And I think that, yeah, no matter what, I think that that's kind of the big thing. Service providers, though, it's that expertise that kind of separates you from the crowd. And if they don't trust that, then it's going to be a harder relationship. And I suggest making sure that people trust your expertise and understand it enough to trust it, essentially. Understanding enough that they don't know what they don't know, kind of thing, that they trust.
And I wore this shirt on purpose today because, again, life is a pitch, right? You're always selling, you're always on stage, especially when you are in a business development role. And I think the most
Tracy's our sales guy.
And, I just want to maybe end this with saying, again, we realized after meeting with this specific group that they were not the right fit for us. And we sent them off respectfully.
Yeah.
And, again, wish them nothing but success, because, someday something might change. And it's all about being respectful and treating people how you want to be.
Guys know, even though they weren't a great fit, we just try to give them the next steps, right? Yep. And ultimately, we provide them with a couple names of some other providers if appropriate and that kind of thing. But I appreciate you guys coming in here and listening to us talk about calm versus agitated clients. I would love if you do a little law of attraction in the comments below and comment what's the quality of one of your favorite types of clients. Speak it into existence this week. Get calm, not agitated clients for yourself and your business. And thank you for watching. Do what you love this week. All right, bye guys.
See you, buddy.